The wind howled through Monterey's cliffs, a relentless storm battering the jagged coast where Eleanor Wright's mansion stood like a sentinel against the sea. Once a tech titan who reshaped Silicon Valley, Eleanor now sat paralyzed, her legs lifeless since a yacht crash stole her mobility and her spirit. Her cliffside fortress, draped in fog, mirrored her isolation. No visitors, no hope, only the ghosts of her past successes. But on a rain-soaked evening, a child's voice pierced the gloom. Lila Harper. The 9-year-old daughter of Eleanor's nurse stood defiant in the grand foyer, her eyes blazing with unnatural certainty. "I can make you walk again," she declared, her small frame dwarfed by the opulent chandelier above. Eleanor laughed, a hollow sound, dismissing the girl's claim as childish fantasy. Yet, something in Lila's unwavering gaze stirred a dangerous flicker in Eleanor's heart, a spark of belief she'd buried years ago. As thunder roared, the promise of a miracle clashed with the skepticism of a broken woman, setting the stage for a battle that would pit faith against science, greed against sacrifice, and a child's gift against a world determined to exploit it. What if the impossible was real? Eleanor Wright's mansion perched precariously on Monterey's rugged coastline, a glass and steel monument to her former glory as a tech billionaire. The Pacific Ocean churned below, its waves crashing against the cliffs in a rhythm that matched the storm raging outside. Inside, the mansion was a mausoleum of luxury, marble floors, crystal chandeliers, and floor-to-ceiling windows that framed the tempest like a painting. Eleanor, now 58, sat in her motorized wheelchair, her once commanding presence diminished by a yacht accident 7 years prior that severed her spinal cord. Her dark hair, streaked with silver, framed a face etched with resignation. The accident had taken more than her legs. It stole her drive, her optimism, and her belief in anything beyond the cold reality of her condition. She built an empire on logic and innovation. But now her world was confined to these walls, her only companions the hum of medical equipment and the distant roar of the sea. Her days blurred into routine. Physical therapy that yielded no progress, board meetings conducted via video calls, and the endless task of managing her fortune. She'd fired countless nurses for their pitying glances until Clara Harper arrived 3 months ago. Clara, a soft-spoken woman in her 30s, brought efficiency and a quiet strength that Eleanor respected. But it was Clara's daughter, Lila, who unsettled her. The 9-year-old often tagged along, her curious eyes scanning the mansion as if it held secrets. Eleanor tolerated her presence, though she found children's optimism grating. She'd learned the hard way that hope was a cruel illusion. On this stormy evening, Eleanor stared out at the ocean, the rain streaking the glass like tears. Her hands, still strong, gripped the armrest of her chair, a habit from years of clinging to control. She remembered the days when she'd sailed these waters, her late husband Daniel at her side, their laughter drowned by the wind. His death in the same accident that paralyzed her had left a wound that no wealth could heal. The mansion, once a symbol of triumph, now felt like a prison. She'd resigned herself to this life. No miracles, no recovery, just the slow march toward oblivion. Clara knocked softly, entering with a tray of tea. "Storm's getting worse," she said, her voice warm but professional. Eleanor nodded, barely listening. She didn't notice Lila slip in behind her mother, clutching a worn sketchbook. The girl's presence was like a pebble in a still pond, rippling Eleanor's carefully guarded solitude. She dismissed them both, eager to return to her solitude, but Lila lingered, her small voice cutting through the silence. "You don't have to stay like this," she said, her words bold yet gentle. Eleanor turned, her eyes narrowing. The child's audacity was almost amusing, but it stirred something deeper, a memory of the fearless woman she'd once been. She waved Lila off, but the girl's words echoed, planting a seed of doubt in her fortress of despair. Could there be a way out of this darkness? The storm outside roared louder, as if answering her unspoken question, setting the stage for a confrontation with the impossible. The storm's fury rattled the mansion's windows as Eleanor sat in her study, the fire casting shadows across her collection of tech patents framed like trophies. She was reviewing quarterly reports, her mind numb to the numbers, when Clara entered, Lila trailing behind. The girl's presence was an intrusion, her bright eyes too knowing for a child. "Lila, go draw in the hall," Clara said, sensing Eleanor's irritation. But Lila didn't move. Instead, she stepped forward, her sketchbook clutched tightly, and spoke with a clarity that froze the room. "I can make you walk again, Miss Wright." she said, her voice steady despite the thunder outside. Eleanor's laugh was sharp, cutting through the tension like a blade. "Child, don't waste my time with fairy tales," she snapped, her tone honed by years of dismissing dreamers. Lila didn't flinch. She opened her sketchbook, revealing a drawing of a woman standing on a cliff, the ocean wild below. "This is you," she said, pointing. "Not now, but soon." The image was crude, childlike, yet it unnerved Eleanor. The audacity of this girl, promising what a dozen specialists had deemed impossible, was absurd. Yet, Lila's unwavering gaze held a conviction that pierced Eleanor's cynicism. "I've helped others," Lila continued, her voice soft but firm. "My grandma's heart, our neighbor's dog. I feel what's broken and fix it." Clara's face paled, her hand reaching for Lila, but Eleanor raised a hand to stop her. "Let her speak," she said, curiosity warring with disbelief. "What makes you think you can do what doctors can't?" Eleanor asked, her voice laced with challenge. Lila stepped closer, undeterred. "Doctors use machines. I use something else. May I touch your hand?" Eleanor hesitated, her logical mind screaming to dismiss the girl, but a buried part of her, the part that once took risks to build an empire, nodded. Lila's small fingers closed around Eleanor's, and a warmth spread, not just in her hand but deep within, like sunlight breaking through fog. It wasn't physical sensation in her legs, not yet, but a stirring, a whisper of possibility that terrified and thrilled her. Clara broke the silence, her voice trembling. "Lila, that's enough. Ms. Wright, I'm sorry, she doesn't understand." But Eleanor's eyes were locked on Lila, her heart racing. "It's fine," she said, her voice softer than she intended. "What exactly do you feel, Lila?" The girl tilted her head, as if listening to a distant song. "Your legs are asleep, but they want to wake up. And your heart, it's heavy, like it's carrying too much." Eleanor's breath caught. No one, not even Clara, knew the weight of her grief for Daniel. The room felt smaller, the storm's roar fading as Lila's words hung between them. "It'll take time," Lila said, releasing her hand. "But I can help." Eleanor dismissed them, but as they left, she stared at her hand, the warmth lingering. For the first time in 7 years, she wondered if hope wasn't just a cruel trick. The storm raged on, but inside, a different kind of tempest was brewing. The next morning, Monterey's skies were gray, the storm's aftermath leaving the cliffs slick and the air heavy with salt. Eleanor woke with an unfamiliar sensation, a faint tingling in her thighs, like static under her skin. She dismissed it as wishful thinking, but Lila's words haunted her. In the dining room, Clara served breakfast, her movements tense, while Lila sat sketching, her focus unnerving. Eleanor watched the girl, her skepticism battling the memory of that warmth. "Clara," she said, her voice measured, "has Lila ever done this before? Helped someone like she claims?" Clara hesitated, glancing at her daughter. "She's always been special," she said quietly. "Last year, our neighbor's dog couldn't walk after a fall. Lila sat with it for hours, and it ran the next day. The vet called it a fluke, but I saw her hands glow." Eleanor's pulse quickened. Glow? The word was absurd, yet it matched the warmth she'd felt. "Lila," she called, her tone commanding but curious. "Come here." The girl approached, her sketchbook left behind, her eyes bright with purpose. "Can you try again?" Eleanor asked, her voice betraying a crack of hope. Lila nodded, kneeling beside the wheelchair. She placed her hands on Eleanor's knees, and instantly the tingling intensified, spreading like wildfire through her legs. It wasn't just warmth now, it was alive, pulsing, as if her nerves were stirring from a long slumber. Eleanor gasped, gripping the armrests, her knuckles white. "What is that?" she whispered, her voice trembling. Lila's face scrunched in concentration. "Your legs are like a puzzle," she said. "The pieces are there, but they forgot how to fit. I'm reminding them." Clara watched, her eyes wide, torn between pride and fear. The sensation grew stronger, a deep hum in Eleanor's bones, and for a moment, she swore she felt her toes twitch. "It's working," she murmured, her voice a mix of awe and terror. 7 years of medical certainty crumbled in the face of this child's touch. But the effort took its toll. Lila's hands trembled, her face paling slightly, though she didn't stop. Clara stepped forward, her voice urgent. "Lila, that's enough for now." The girl pulled back, breathing heavily, but her smile was radiant. "It's starting, Ms. Wright. Your legs are waking up." Eleanor stared at her legs, motionless yet alive with sensation, her mind reeling. She'd built her life on data, on proof, but this defied every metric she knew. How is this possible? She asked, more to herself than Lila. The girl shrugged, as if miracles were ordinary. I just know what's broken and how to fix it. Clara's eyes met Eleanor's, a silent plea for discretion. Please, Ms. Wright, don't tell anyone. People wouldn't understand. Eleanor nodded. But her thoughts raced. If Lila's gift was real, it was a seismic discovery, one that could heal her or destroy the girl. The ocean roared outside, a reminder of the world's vast unknowns. And Eleanor felt a spark of the fearless innovator she'd once been. She had to protect Lila, but first, she needed to understand the impossible unfolding before her. The Monterey sun broke through the clouds, casting a golden glow over Eleanor's mansion, but inside, a different storm brewed. Ethan Wright, Eleanor's 32-year-old nephew, arrived unannounced. His polished suit and slick smile masking a calculating edge. As the heir apparent to Eleanor's empire, he'd managed her investments with ruthless efficiency, banking on her disability to secure his future. Lila's presence, and the rumors Clara let slip about her helping Eleanor, set his nerves on edge. He found Eleanor in the conservatory, her wheelchair parked by a wall of orchids, her face unusually animated. And Eleanor, he said, his voice smooth, Clara mentioned some nonsense about her daughter. You're not buying into it, are you? Eleanor's eyes narrowed. She'd noticed Ethan's growing control over her finances, his subtle pressure to sign over more authority. It's none of your concern, she said coolly. But the tingling in her legs, stronger now, emboldened her. Ethan's smile faltered. You're vulnerable, Aunt. People prey on hope. This kid's probably part of some scam. His words stung, echoing her own doubts, but Lila's touch had been too real. Enough, she snapped, her voice sharp. Lila's a guest, not a con artist. Ethan's jaw tightened, his eyes darting to Clara, who stood nearby, holding Lila's hand. Later, in the library, Ethan cornered Clara, his tone icy. What's your daughter playing at? My aunt's not a guinea pig. Clara stood her ground, her voice steady. Lila's helping her. You've seen how Eleanor's changed. Ethan scoffed, but fear flickered in his eyes. If Eleanor walked again, she'd reclaim her empire, sidelining him. He needed proof Lila was a fraud. That evening, he lingered outside Eleanor's room, overhearing Lila's soft voice. Your legs are stronger today, Ms. Wright. Peering through the crack, he saw Lila's hands on Eleanor's knees, Eleanor's face alight with hope. His stomach churned. This wasn't just a threat to his inheritance. It was a seismic shift. Ethan's mind raced. He built his future on Eleanor's paralysis, assuming she'd remain dependent. A recovered Eleanor could live decades, remarry, or worse, redirect her fortune to charity. He pulled out his phone, dialing a contact at a private investigation firm. I need dirt on a nurse named Lila Harper and her kid, he whispered, his voice low. Fast. The next day, he confronted Eleanor again. This time with a file of vague accusations, Clara's past job changes, Lila's homeschooling records. They're unstable, he said. You're risking everything. Eleanor's hand trembled. But she met his gaze. You're scared, Ethan. Not of Lila, but of me. Her words cut deep, exposing his motives. Lila, watching silently, spoke up, her voice piercing. You're angry because you want Ms. Wright to stay sick. Ethan froze, his face paling. The child's insight was unnerving, but he laughed it off. You're out of your depth, kid. Yet. As he stormed out, his heart pounded. He needed to act before Lila's miracle unraveled his plans. The mansion's grandeur felt suffocating, the ocean's roar a warning. Ethan's greed was a ticking bomb, and Lila was the fuse, threatening to ignite a war that would test Eleanor's newfound strength and resolve. The Monterey coast shimmered under a rare clear sky. But inside Eleanor's mansion, tension crackled like static. Dr. Samuel Carter, Eleanor's physician for a decade, arrived for her weekly checkup, his brow furrowed with curiosity. Clara had confided in him about Lila's effect, and yesterday, he'd witnessed Eleanor wiggle her toes. A medical impossibility. Eleanor, he said, adjusting his glasses. Your neural responses are unprecedented. We need to document this carefully. His excitement was tempered by caution. Lila's gift defied his training. Eleanor, her legs tingling with persistent warmth, nodded. Do what you must, Samuel, but protect Lila. She's not an experiment. Word of Lila's abilities reached Dr. Vanessa Reed, a renowned neurologist from Stanford, whose skepticism bordered on zealotry. She arrived uninvited, her sharp features set in a mask of professional disdain. "Ms. Wright," she began. Her voice clipped. "Dr. Carter's reports are intriguing, but extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. This child's so-called healing is likely psychosomatic at best, fraudulent at worst." Eleanor's jaw tightened. "You haven't seen what I've felt," she countered, but Vanessa was unmoved. "I'm requesting federal oversight. If this girl is performing unlicensed medical acts, she's a public health risk." Clara, standing nearby, clutched Lila protectively, her face pale. Vanessa's team set up in the mansion's guest wing, their equipment transforming the space into a makeshift lab. Lila, under scrutiny, remained calm, her hands steady as she touched Eleanor's legs during a monitored session. The warmth surged, and Eleanor's calf twitched visibly. Samuel gasped, scribbling notes, but Vanessa's eyes narrowed. "Placebo effect," she muttered, though her voice wavered. She demanded Lila undergo neural scans and blood tests, citing the need to rule out deception. Clara protested, her voice rising. "She's a child, not a specimen." But Vanessa's authority loomed, backed by looming federal involvement. Eleanor, torn between hope and fear, felt the weight of her decision. Lila's gift was real, she'd felt it, seen it, but exposing her to science's cold machinery risked her safety. That night, she called Samuel to her study, the ocean's roar a distant pulse. "Can you stall Vanessa?" she asked. Samuel sighed. "She's relentless, Eleanor. If Lila's abilities hold up, they'll want her in a lab, not your mansion." The thought chilled Eleanor. She'd once wielded power over industries. But this was different. A child's freedom hung in the balance. Lila, overhearing, slipped into the room, her eyes solemn. "I'm not scared, Ms. Wright. I want to help you, even if they don't believe." Her bravery pierced Eleanor's heart. She'd spent years building walls against hope, but Lila was dismantling them. "We'll fight this," Eleanor promised, her voice firm. The next day, Vanessa presented a federal mandate, citing potential child endangerment, to justify removing Lila for testing. Clara's hands shook as she read the document, but Eleanor's resolve hardened. She'd lost too much to let Lila be taken. The mansion, once her prison, became a battleground, its walls echoing with the clash of faith and skepticism. As Vanessa's team prepared to escalate, Eleanor knew the real war was just beginning, a war to protect a miracle from a world that sought to dissect it. Midnight cloaked Monterey in darkness, the ocean's roar a grim prelude to chaos. Eleanor's mansion, usually silent, pulsed with tension as federal agents stormed the grounds, their flashlights slicing through the fog. Ethan had betrayed them, leaking Lila's story to a contact in the Department of Health Services, framing her as a danger. The grand foyer echoed with heavy boots and shouted orders, "Secure the premises." Eleanor, roused from sleep, maneuvered her wheelchair to the staircase, her heart pounding. Clara clutched Lila, her face ashen, while Samuel stood protectively nearby, his medical bag clutched like a shield. The tingling in Eleanor's legs, now a constant hum, fueled her defiance. Agent Laura Bennett, a stern woman in a black suit, presented a warrant. "Ms. Wright, we're here for the child. Allegations of unlicensed medical practice and child endangerment require her immediate detention." Eleanor's voice was steel. "You're trespassing. Lila's no threat. She's a guest." Bennett's eyes flicked to Lila, who stood small but unyielding, her sketchbook clutched tightly. "Step aside, Ms. Wright, or we'll arrest you for obstruction." The threat ignited something in Eleanor, a fire she hadn't felt since her tech empire's heyday. "Over my dead body," she declared, her voice echoing through the marble hall. Clara's voice broke, pleading, "She's my daughter. You can't take her." But the agents advanced, their hands on holsters. Lila stepped forward, her voice clear. "I'm not afraid. I helped Ms. Wright, and I'd do it again." Her bravery stunned the room, but Ethan, lurking at the edges, sneered. "She's a fraud, Aunt Eleanor. You're delusional if you think otherwise." His betrayal cut deep, but Eleanor's focus was Lila. She wheeled closer, her eyes locked on Bennett. "You want evidence? Test me. My legs are waking up because of her. You can't ignore that." Samuel intervened, his voice urgent. "I've documented Eleanor's progress, reflexes, muscle responses, all impossible a month ago. Lila's not a danger. She's a phenomenon." Bennett hesitated. but her radio crackled with orders to proceed. As an agent reached for Lila, Eleanor acted on instinct. She pushed her wheelchair forward, blocking their path, her voice thunderous. "Touch her, and I'll bury you in lawsuits. I'm Eleanor Wright. And I don't lose." The room froze, the agent's resolve wavering under her authority. Lila's hand brushed Eleanor's, and a surge of warmth flooded her legs, stronger than ever. Her calf twitched visibly, drawing gasps from Samuel and even Bennett. Ethan's face paled, his plan unraveling. "This is madness," he stammered, but his voice lacked conviction. Eleanor seized the moment, her voice commanding. "Leave my home. Now." Bennett, shaken, signaled a retreat, promising to return with stronger authority. As the agents filed out, Eleanor looked at Lila, her heart swelling with gratitude and fear. The mansion settled into uneasy silence, but the victory was fleeting. Ethan's betrayal and the federal threat loomed larger. And Eleanor knew she'd need every ounce of her old strength to protect Lila. The ocean roared, a reminder of the battles ahead, but for now, they'd held the line, a fragile stand against a world determined to claim a miracle. Dawn broke over Monterey, the ocean calm but the mansion heavy with aftermath. Eleanor, Clara, and Lila gathered in the sunroom, the glass walls framing a deceptively serene coast. Eleanor's legs buzzed with sensation, her toes now moving on command. A miracle, yet her heart ached. Lila's bravery during the raid had exposed a vulnerability. The girl's face was pale, her hands trembling as she clutched her sketchbook. Clara noticed first, kneeling beside her daughter. "Lila, you're exhausted. What's wrong?" Lila's eyes, usually bright, were dim, and her voice was a whisper. "Helping Ms. Wright, it takes a lot out of me. Every time I heal, I feel weaker." Eleanor's breath caught, guilt flooding her. "What do you mean, weaker?" she asked, her voice low. Lila hesitated, then spoke, her words heavy with truth. "When I fix what's broken, I give a piece of myself. It's like my energy goes into them. I don't know how much I have left." Clara's face crumpled, her arms wrapping around Lila. "Why didn't you tell me?" she whispered, her voice breaking. Lila shrugged, her small frame fragile. "I wanted to help Ms. Wright. She was so sad." The words pierced Eleanor, who'd seen Lila as a savior, not a child sacrificing herself. Samuel, reviewing his notes, looked up, alarmed. "This changes everything. If healing drains her vitality, we can't let her continue unchecked. She's at risk." Eleanor's mind raced. She'd built her empire on calculated risks, but this was different. Lila's life was the stake. "We need to stop," she said firmly. "No more healing until we understand this." But Lila shook her head, her eyes fierce. "I can't stop. Your legs are almost ready, Ms. Wright. And there are others who need me." Her selflessness was a blade, cutting through Eleanor's resolve. Clara's voice rose. "Desperate, you're my daughter, not a miracle machine. I won't lose you." The room tensed, the weight of Lila's burden shifting their dynamic. Eleanor, who'd once valued control above all, felt powerless. "Lila," she said, her voice steady despite her fear. "You've given me hope I didn't deserve, but I won't let you hurt yourself for me." Lila's eyes softened, but her resolve held. "It's my choice, Ms. Wright. Helping people is who I am." The conversation was cut short by a call from Eleanor's lawyer, warning of escalating federal interest. Ethan's leak had drawn more scrutiny, and Vanessa Reed was pushing for Lila's immediate transfer to a research facility. Eleanor's heart sank, but Lila's revelation steeled her. She'd protect this child, even if it meant defying the government. "Clara," she said, her voice commanding, "we're moving Lila to a safe house tonight. Samuel, get me every medical record you have. We're building a case." The sunroom, bathed in light, felt like a war room, the ocean's calm a stark contrast to the storm within. Lila's gift was a double-edged sword, and Eleanor knew the cost of wielding it. As they planned, she glanced at Lila, sketching quietly, her small form a reminder of the sacrifice they were fighting to prevent. The battle for Lila's freedom had just grown more desperate, and Eleanor would risk everything to win. The Monterey courthouse loomed like a fortress, its stone facade unyielding under a drizzling sky. Inside, Eleanor sat at the head of a conference table, her wheelchair a deliberate choice to underscore Lila's impact. Clara held Lila's hand, the girl's face pale but resolute, while Samuel flanked them, his medical records stacked like armor. Across the table, Dr. Vanessa Reed and Agent Laura Bennett presented a federal petition to place Lila in a research facility, citing national medical interest. Eleanor's legal team, funded by her billions, was ready for war. The hearing was a battleground, pitting Lila's freedom against science's hunger and Ethan's betrayal. Vanessa opened, her voice clinical. The child's abilities, if real, could revolutionize medicine. Her blood shows anomalous cellular structures. Her brain scans defy known neurology. We need controlled study. Clara's grip tightened on Lila, her voice shaking. She's not a lab rat. She's my daughter. Eleanor's eyes blazed. You speak of discoveries, Dr. Reed, but ignore the cost. Lila's health is fading. You'd exploit a child for your Nobel Prize. The room tensed, Vanessa's composure cracking. This isn't exploitation, it's science, she retorted, but her certainty wavered. Samuel presented his evidence, his voice steady. Eleanor's spinal cord is regenerating medically impossible. Lila's touch triggered it, but at a cost to her vitality. Further testing could kill her. The judge, a stern woman named Margaret Holt, leaned forward, her eyes sharp. Ms. Wright, you claim this child healed you. Yet you oppose study that could validate her gift. Why? Eleanor's voice was iron. Because Lila's not a phenomenon. She's a person. I've felt her gift, but I've seen her sacrifice. I won't let you dissect her for data. Ethan, present as a witness, seized his chance, his voice dripping with concern. My aunt's been manipulated. This child's a fraud, preying on her vulnerability. Lila's eyes met his, unflinching. You're lying because you're scared I'll help her live longer, she said, her voice cutting through the room. Ethan flinched, his facade crumbling. Judge Holt's gaze hardened, sensing his motives. Eleanor leaned forward, her voice resonant. I've built an empire on truth, Your Honor. Lila's gift is real, and I'll spend every dime to protect her. The hearing stretched into hours, arguments clashing like waves against Monterey's cliffs. Eleanor's team presented affidavits from neighbors Lila had helped, alongside Samuel's meticulous records. Vanessa countered with scientific protocols, but her detachment alienated the judge. As the day waned, Lila whispered to Eleanor, I'm okay, Ms. Wright. I trust you. The words fueled Eleanor's resolve. She addressed the court, her voice commanding. 7 years ago, I lost my legs and my hope. Lila gave both back, at risk to herself. If you take her, you'll destroy a miracle. Judge Holt adjourned for deliberation, leaving the room in suspense. Eleanor looked at Lila, whose small hand rested on hers, the familiar warmth a reminder of the stakes. The courthouse's grandeur felt suffocating, the drizzle outside a mirror of their uncertainty. Ethan's betrayal had brought them here, but Eleanor's wealth and will were a shield. The fight wasn't over, but for the first time, she felt like the woman who'd conquered Silicon Valley, ready to defy any odds for Lila's sake. Monterey's cliffs sparkled under a rare winter sun. But Eleanor's mansion was a fortress under siege. A grainy video, secretly recorded by Ethan during Lila's healing session, had leaked online, going viral overnight. Titled Miracle Girl in Monterey. It showed Lila's hands on Eleanor's legs, Eleanor's toes twitching, and her gasp of awe. Social media erupted, hashtags trending globally, drawing journalists, opportunists, and zealots to Eleanor's gates. The world was captivated, but the attention was a double-edged sword. Lila's gift was exposed, and with it, her vulnerability. Eleanor, now walking with a cane, paced her study, her legs unsteady but her resolve ironclad. Clara, watching the news, was frantic. They're calling her a saint, a fraud, everything. We need to leave, Eleanor. Lila, sketching quietly, looked up, her face pale. I don't want to hide, Mommy. People need to know it's real. Her bravery broke Eleanor's heart. The girl's vitality was fading, each healing session leaving her weaker, yet she clung to her purpose. Samuel, monitoring Lila's health, warned, she's burning out. We can't let this circus exploit her. Eleanor nodded, her mind racing. She'd faced hostile takeovers, but this was war on a global stage. Outside, reporters camped, drones buzzing overhead. A self-proclaimed healer arrived, claiming Lila as his disciple, while a biotech CEO offered millions for her services. Eleanor's security team held the line, but the pressure was suffocating. Ethan, emboldened by the chaos, appeared on a talk show, painting Lila as a con artist manipulating his deluded aunt. His betrayal fueled the frenzy, and federal agents, spurred by public outcry, issued a new summons for Lila's evaluation. Eleanor's lawyer called, voice grim. The government's under pressure to act. We have days, maybe hours, before they raid again. Eleanor summoned her old tech allies, leveraging her network to counter the narrative. She funded a press conference, where Samuel presented Lila's medical impact, Eleanor's scan showing neural regeneration, defying science. Clara spoke, tears in her eyes, pleading for Lila's humanity. Lila, against Eleanor's wishes, stepped to the microphone, her voice clear. I help because I can. Please don't make me stop. The world paused, her words a beacon, but the danger grew. A hacker group, intrigued by Lila, threatened to expose Eleanor's private data unless Lila healed their leader. That night, Eleanor moved Lila and Clara to a safe house, a secluded cabin in Big Sur. As they settled, Lila touched Eleanor's hand, the warmth weaker now. I'm sorry for the trouble, she whispered. Eleanor's eyes burned. You're not trouble, you're a gift. I'll fix this. She launched a digital campaign, rallying public support to protect Lila, her old tech prowess reborn. The safe house's quiet was deceptive, the ocean's murmur a fleeting calm. The world's eyes were on Lila, and Eleanor knew the next move would define their fate. She'd once shaped industries, now she'd reshape a narrative to save a child. The viral video had lit a fuse, and the explosion was coming. Eleanor had to ensure it burned in their favor, not Lila's destruction. The Big Sur safe house glowed under starlight, its wooden walls a sanctuary from Monterey's chaos. Eleanor, Clara, and Lila gathered in the dim living room, the ocean's distant pulse a reminder of their fragile peace. Lila's health was fading, her healing sessions leaving her frail. But her eyes still shone with purpose. Dr. Vanessa Reed, shaken by Eleanor's neural scans and public pressure, arrived under truce, her skepticism fraying. I need to see it myself, she said, her voice softer than before. Eleanor, walking unsteadily with a cane, nodded. Do it, Lila, but only if you're strong enough. Lila smiled, weary but resolute. I want to help her believe. Lila placed her hands on Eleanor's thighs, the warmth surging, stronger than ever. Eleanor's legs steadied, muscles contracting in harmony. She stood without the cane, taking a step, then another, tears streaming down her face. I'm walking, she whispered, the room electric with awe. Vanessa, monitoring with a portable EEG, gasped. Your spinal cord, it's rewiring in real time. This is impossible. Lila, exhausted, turned to Vanessa. Can I help you now? She asked, sensing the doctor's hidden fear, a chronic tremor she concealed. Against her instincts, Vanessa extended her hand. Lila's touch was faint, but the tremor stopped, Vanessa's eyes widening in shock. I was wrong, Vanessa admitted, her voice breaking. You're not a subject. You're a miracle. Lila collapsed into Clara's arms, her energy spent. Eleanor, standing tall, vowed to end this. She called a global press conference, streaming from the safe house, her presence commanding. Lila Harper gave me my life back, she declared, walking for the cameras. She's a child, not a specimen. I'm funding a trust to protect her and others like her. No more experiments. The world watched, transfixed, as Clara spoke of Lila's sacrifice and Vanessa, transformed, pledged to advocate for ethical science. The government, facing public outcry, withdrew its petition. Ethan, disgraced, vanished from Monterey, his schemes exposed. Lila's viral fame became a shield, her story a rallying cry for compassion over exploitation. Days later, Lila, recovering, sketched Eleanor running on the cliffs, her smile radiant. I knew you could, she said. Eleanor, her empire reborn, redirected her wealth to protect gifted children, her mansion now a haven for hope. Vanessa joined her cause, her skepticism replaced by faith in the unexplainable. The safe house, once a refuge, became a symbol of victory. Eleanor walked the cliffs with Lila and Clara, the ocean's roar a hymn of renewal. She'd conquered industries, but this was her true legacy, protecting a child who'd reshaped her soul. Lila's gift had healed more than bodies, it had mended hearts, bridging science and wonder. As they stood together, the stars above Monterey shone brighter, a testament to a miracle that defied the world's doubts. Eleanor's steps, once impossible, echoed with purpose. Each one a promise to fight for those who dared to hope against the odds. Eleanor Wright's journey with Lila Harper unveils a profound truth. True strength lies in embracing hope and protecting the innocent, even when it defies logic or personal gain. Eleanor, once a titan of tech, had built her empire on cold calculations. Believing hope was a weakness. Lila's gift, her selfless healing at the cost of her own vitality, shattered that illusion. It taught Eleanor that miracles, whether born of science or something beyond, demand courage to defend, especially when the world seeks to exploit them. Lila's small hands didn't just heal Eleanor's legs, they rekindled her heart, showing that vulnerability and sacrifice can spark transformation. The clash with Ethan's greed, Vanessa's skepticism, and federal overreach revealed that hope often faces resistance. Yet it prevails through collective resolve. Clara's fierce love, Samuel's quiet support, and Eleanor's reborn tenacity prove that protecting one child can reshape countless lives. This story reminds us that the impossible is often a matter of perspective. Faith, not facts, can move mountains. Reflect on a moment when you dismissed a possibility because it seemed too far-fetched. Was it a dream, a person's potential, or an unexplainable spark of hope? Like Eleanor, we all face moments where doubt overshadows wonder. Today, open your heart to the unexpected. Seek out someone in your life, a colleague, a friend, or even a stranger who needs your belief, your protection, or your voice. Stand up for them, as Eleanor did for Lila, even if it means challenging the status quo. Write down one action you'll take this week to nurture hope in yourself or another. Share that commitment with someone you trust and let it ripple outward, proving that miracles begin with the courage to believe.